Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, USA. He was a prominent civil rights leader, minister, and activist known for his nonviolent approach to protesting racial discrimination. King played a pivotal role in the American civil rights movement during the 1950s and 1960s. King rose to national prominence after leading the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, sparked by the arrest of Rosa Parks for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger. His leadership and advocacy for nonviolent resistance against racial segregation and inequality earned him widespread admiration and support. In 1957, King helped found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference SCLC, an organization committed to achieving civil rights through nonviolent means. He advocated for civil rights legislation and organized numerous peaceful protests and demonstrations, including the historic March on Washington in 1963, where he delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 for his tireless efforts to combat racial injustice through nonviolent resistance. Despite facing violence, intimidation, and numerous arrests, King remained steadfast in his commitment to achieving equality and justice for all Americans. Tragically, King was assassinated on April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee, at the age of 39. His death sparked riots and mourning across the nation, but his legacy as a champion of civil rights and a beacon of hope for oppressed people around the world endures to this day. King was born into a family deeply rooted in the African American church tradition. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., was a Baptist minister, and his mother, Alberta Williams King, was a former school teacher. King grew up in Atlanta's Auburn Avenue neighborhood, where he experienced firsthand the harsh realities of racial segregation and discrimination. After graduating from high school at the age of 15, King attended Morehouse College, a historically black college in Atlanta. He later went on to earn a Bachelor of Divinity degree from Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania and a Doctor of Philosophy degree from Boston University. Throughout his career, King advocated for various civil rights causes, including voting rights, desegregation, and economic justice. He believed in the power of nonviolent resistance as a means to effect social and political change, drawing inspiration from the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi. In addition to his activism, King was a prolific writer and orator, penning numerous essays, books, and speeches on the subjects of justice, equality, and love. His letter from Birmingham jail, written in 1963 in response to criticism from white clergymen, remains a seminal document in the history of the civil rights movement. King's commitment to nonviolence and his unwavering dedication to justice inspired millions of people around the world. His legacy continues to resonate in the ongoing struggle for civil rights and social justice, and his contributions to the advancement of human rights are celebrated globally. In recognition of his contributions to society, King's birthday has been designated a federal holiday in the United States, observed annually on the third Monday in January. He is remembered as one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century, and his words and actions continue to inspire generations of activists and change makers. King's involvement in the civil rights movement extended beyond his famous speeches and demonstrations. He played a key role in organizing and strategizing various campaigns, including the Selma to Montgomery marches in 1965, which helped lead to the passage of the Voting Rights Act later that year. In addition to his advocacy for racial equality, King also spoke out against poverty and militarism. He believed that these issues were interconnected and that addressing them required a comprehensive approach to social justice. King faced considerable opposition and criticism during his lifetime, including from within the African American community. Some criticized his tactics as too passive, while others viewed him as too radical. Despite these challenges, King remained committed to his principles of nonviolence and justice. King's assassination in 1968 sent shockwaves around the world and plunged the nation into mourning. His death sparked riots in several cities, but it also galvanized support for the civil rights movement and led to renewed efforts to address racial inequality. King's influence extended far beyond the borders of the United States. His message of peace, equality, and justice resonated with people around the world, inspiring movements for freedom and democracy in countries facing oppression and discrimination. King's legacy continues to be celebrated and honored today through various memorials, monuments, and events. His speeches and writings are studied in schools and universities worldwide, and his commitment to nonviolent resistance remains a guiding principle for activists fighting for justice and equality. Overall, Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and work continue to inspire people of all backgrounds to strive for a more just and equitable society. His vision of a world free from discrimination and oppression remains as relevant and urgent today as it was during his lifetime. King was deeply influenced by his Christian faith and the teachings of nonviolent resistance, particularly as espoused by Mahatma Gandhi. He saw his work for civil rights as part of his broader commitment to love, justice, and equality. Despite his commitment to nonviolence, King faced numerous threats to his safety and the safety of his family throughout his life. His home was bombed in 1956, and he was the target of multiple assassination attempts. King's leadership extended beyond his role in the civil rights movement. He was also a vocal critic of the Vietnam War, speaking out against the conflict and calling for an end to the violence. In 1964, King became the youngest person ever to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in advancing civil rights through nonviolent means. He donated the prize money to the civil rights movement. King's legacy continues to be a source of inspiration for activists around the world. His words and actions have influenced countless individuals and movements, from the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa to the fight for LGBTQ rights. In addition to his public activism, King was also a devoted husband and father. He married Coretta Scott in 1953, and together they had 4 children: Yolanda, Martinil, Dexter, and Bernice. Coretta Scott King continued her husband's work for civil rights after his death, founding the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change in Atlanta. Overall, Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and legacy serve as a testament to the power of courage, compassion, and perseverance in the face of injustice. His words and actions continue to inspire people of all ages and backgrounds to work towards a more just and equitable world. King's commitment to civil rights was not limited to African Americans. He also advocated for the rights of other marginalized groups, including Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, and impoverished communities of all races. In 1966, King expanded his focus to economic justice by launching the Poor People's Campaign. This campaign aimed to address poverty and economic inequality through nonviolent protest and civil disobedience, fully realizing this vision. But the Poor People's Campaign has continued in various forms to this day. King's leadership extended to the realm of education as well. He was a vocal advocate for equal access to quality education for all children, regardless of their race or socioeconomic status. He believed that education was essential for empowering individuals and breaking the cycle of poverty and oppression. King's legacy has been honored in numerous ways since his death. In addition to the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site in Atlanta, which includes his childhood home and the Ebenezer Baptist Church, where he served as co-pastor, there are many schools, streets, and monuments named in his honor across the United States and around the world. King's impact on American society can be seen in the passage of landmark civil rights legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These laws helped dismantle institutionalized racism and expand voting rights for millions of Americans. King's message of nonviolence and justice continues to resonate with people around the world. His words are frequently quoted in speeches, protests, and social media posts, and his philosophy of love and reconciliation remains a powerful force for positive change. Overall, Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and work continue to inspire people to strive for a more inclusive, equitable, and just society. His vision of a beloved community where all people are treated with dignity and respect remains a guiding light for activists and advocates everywhere. Thanks for watching video. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.